Konnichiwa! Japan has a new prime minister. And not just any prime minister, a woman. Her name is Sanae Takaichi, and she's officially Japan's first female PM in history. Now, normally when a country elects its first female leader, the headlines go, historic moment, glass ceiling shattered, girls everywhere inspired. But Japan's reaction was basically, oh god, our prime minister is a total workaholic. This woman's daily schedule looks like she's training for a Navy SEAL exam. Her vibe isn't first female prime minister. Her vibe is, if coffee could walk, it would be afraid of her.
Woo!
And for China, their reaction was even louder.
My chairman, no. This woman is a military's warmonger.
Like, calm down, Beijing. A person waking up early doesn't mean she's mobilizing the Imperial Japanese Navy. But Takaichi is CCP's worst nightmare. Because Takaichi isn't just hardworking. She actually says things out loud, directly, in complete sentences. Do you understand how offensive that is to Beijing? Beijing wants geopolitics to always sound like, we urge all parties to remain cautious and avoid unilateral actions. Translation: no one is allowed to question China's bad behavior, ever. And then Takaichi walks in and says, Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency. Boom. Beijing had a full meltdown.
Emotional damage!
And their entire propaganda army launched a full-scale keyboard invasion. The whole little pink ecosystem activated faster than a boy band fan base after a surprise comeback announcement. So what did Takaichi actually say? Was it a declaration of war? Nope. All she said was, a Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency. That's it. But to Beijing, that sentence hit harder than any missile test. A Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency. That means if China touches Taiwan, Japan treats it as a threat to its national survival. Beijing reacted like someone told an Italian that pineapple does not belong on pizza.
How dare you!
But here's the thing. Japan is only 65 miles from Taiwan. 65. That's closer than your weekend drive to a camping site. If China blockades Taiwan, Japan instantly loses 60% of its energy shipments, then critical sea lanes, and also its entire southern defense bustle. So when Takaichi said what literally every security analyst knows, Beijing acted like she committed a war crime. Why? Because she said it publicly, on record, without blinking. Nothing terrifies Beijing more than a woman telling the truth with perfect posture. So how did China react? Well, imagine if a government had a temper tantrum. Now imagine that government is a nuclear-armed dictatorship with a full propaganda department and too much free time. First, Chinese state media released editorial cartoons smearing Takaichi. Well, calling them cartoons is a bit generous. After all, those drawings weren't made with any artistic skill. They were made with their ugly little hearts. Then, this part is real. I'm not even making it up. A Chinese diplomat posted a death threat, a beheading threat, against Japan's prime minister. Let me repeat. A diplomat, whose job description is literally, be calm and don't start wars, was online talking like a villain in a cheap action movie. This wasn't even his first time. He previously threatened the US Secretary of Defense. This man isn't doing diplomacy. He's basically a stray dog with Wi-Fi. When the ambassador of your country logs onto social media like, hey yo, who's trying to catch these hands? Something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. China isn't really targeting Japan. Japan is just the proxy punching bag. The real target is the United States. China is basically kicking Japan's door to see if America will react. This isn't a regional dispute. It's Beijing shaking the entire US alliance. And here's the part most people outside Asia never learn. The phrase Taiwan contingency didn't come from Takaichi. It came from the late former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. And Abe didn't mince words. His full warning was, the Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency, and therefore a contingency for the Japan-US alliance. Why does Taiwan contingency matter? Because Taiwan isn't just an island. It's a functioning miracle of global trade. Taiwan produces more than 90% of the world's advanced semiconductors. And here's the part most people still don't realize. Taiwan also produces over 40% of the world's mature node chips. The chips inside your iPhone, Taiwan. Your car, Taiwan. Your laptop, drone, PlayStation, medical devices, AI servers, all Taiwan. If Taiwan shuts down for 1 week, Wall Street turns into a haunted house. If Taiwan shuts down for 1 month, the US economy becomes a very clean, very empty Best Buy. By the way, Japan is the largest foreign holder of US debt, and Taiwan is number 11. Basically, a Taiwan contingency isn't Asia's problem. It's also your grocery bill, your job security, your mortgage rate, your retirement fund, everything. Imagine the global tech economy as a giant game of Jenga. At the bottom is a single block labeled Taiwan. Now imagine China saying, hey, I just want to borrow that. The entire global economy screams, no, stop, please don't touch that! Because when that block is gone, the whole tower collapses faster than a crypto exchange. Americans panic when Wi-Fi dies for 5 minutes. Now imagine an entire semiconductor ecosystem going offline. Your iPhone, Xbox, Tesla, AI tools, GPS, even military systems. Everything gets knocked back to the Stone Age.
No!
That is why Japan cares. That is also why US cares. That is why literally every country with electricity cares. Why Japan's shift matters. Their official statements used to sound like, we understand and respect the position of the government of China. Takaichi still says that part, but she also adds something Japan never used to say out loud, the actual position of the government of Japan. By explicitly stating Japan will respond to any Taiwan crisis, she shifted Japan's strategy from let's not anger Beijing to let's prepare for reality. Not because Japan became aggressive, but because Japan finally admitted what everyone already knows. If Taiwan falls, Japan burns. China fears Japan's words because Americans believe Japan. If Luxembourg said Taiwan crisis equals world crisis, China would shrug. If Japan says it, China immediately thinks, oh no, America is taking notes. Japan hosts major US bases. Japan funds US deployments. Japan controls key maritime choke points. Japan produces lots of goods that Americans need. When Japan draws a red line, it is never standing alone. Here's the part American audiences need to hear. This entire drama in Asia, it's not a faraway soap opera. It's the firewall between stability and chaos. Because the moment China threatens Japan, it isn't a regional issue. It's Beijing knocking on America's front door like, hey, nice democracy you got there. Shame if anything happened to it. And here's what Beijing still doesn't get. The US-Japan-Taiwan partnership isn't a group project you can bully your way into. It's the power strip your entire economy is plugged into. China screaming at Japan doesn't make Japan smaller. It just makes the US pay more attention. And if Beijing keeps melting down every time Japan tells the truth, then the rest of the world is going to say, nice work, let's keep that going next time. Every democracy will keep doing the one thing China hates most, listening to Japan, supporting Taiwan, and strengthening the alliance Beijing fears the most. So the message tonight is simple. If you care about your phone, your paycheck, your security, your future, then yes, you care about Japan's Iron Lady and the Taiwan contingency. This is Redline Tonight. Remember, when Beijing throws a tantrum, the free world laughs and then prepares. Good night.